Folks, it is with great pleasure I get to welcome you to Comedy and Laughter with Prince Abdi. My name's Nabz Pat. I myself am a comedian. You've probably seen me and some of my alter egos online. I am a sketch comedian. I am absolutely excited to be interviewing Prince Abdi a little later on. He's been someone who I've watched for the past 10 years rise up the ranks from the Muslim circuit to the mainstream circuit. And I've had the pleasure of seeing him perform during his early comedy days. And now he's a very well-renowned comedian who's performed with the likes of Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, McIntyre, Trevor Noah. And now he joins me, Nabz Pat, on Zoom no less, to give a fantastic performance, a live performance just for you all. So welcome to Macfest. We are bringing you a live performance with Prince Abdi, and he is about to rock and roll with his comedy show. Prince, great to see you this evening on Sunday. Thank you for joining us. Where are you joining us from?
I'm in a very exotic place called Birmingham. I thought it was so funny, guys.
Well, I mean, I can't really see much of the landscape of Birmingham, but it looks like a room. What room are you in?
Oh, I'm in a lecture room. It looks like a church.
Oh,
a church.
This seems like you're going back to your teacher days. Is there a lectern there?
I'm going back to school, yeah.
You're going back to school. Well, we need you to come back forward to being a comedian. I am going to hand over the floor to you. You are going to do a hilarious set for us. So I'm going to ask everyone to enjoy.
Thank you. I was at my grandmother's house. And every time I go see my grandmother, all she talks about is Brexit, because my grandmother voted for Brexit. And, it's a free country. Everybody's entitled to their own, choices and that. But I mean, I don't know why she did it, but she did it. But I asked her like why she voted for Brexit, and I kid you not, she looked at me and she said, because there are too many foreigners in this country. They have to go back to where they are from. That is why I voted for Brexit. Oh, sorry, my grandma is actually from Birmingham. I just can't do the accent. It's a tough accent to do. I can't do the Brummy accent. So I grew up in South London, a place called Brixton, to be precise. That's where I grew up. And when I was younger, this is a true story, I joined the gang. I was like 15, 16. I joined a gang. I didn't know what I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to be cool, wanted to be part of a, culture. And my dad had no idea that I joined the gang. Obviously I can't tell my dad I joined the gang. So my dad, when I was 16 and I got my national insurance card, he got me a job at the local library. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't tell my dad, obviously, I'm in a gang, and I couldn't tell the gang I work in a library. So I had to keep both of them a secret. So basically, my title was a librarian gangster. That was my title. So I remember one time the gang put me on the spot, and they were like, "You have to go rob someone." You had to do it, to be part of the gang and get that respect. So I didn't want to do it, but I had to. So I went up to this guy, and I was like, "Give me." I said to him, "Give me all the money you have on you." And he looked at me and he said, "You work at the library." And that was so hard for me to hear, because I was like, what are the chances? Then he changed the subject. He was like, I bought 2 books the other day. What's your returns policy? Because I don't have the receipt. Now I'm talking to this guy while the gang are watching, because they don't know what's going on. I'm going to rob him. And then he goes, so I told him, we have to give you credit note. And then he goes to me, the gang have asked you to come and rob me. And I said, yeah, that's right. And he goes, okay, what I'm going to do, you're going to run after me, right? And then we'll get to the end of the block. Then you come back and you say to the gang, you've lost me. And I thought, that's a great idea. So I don't have to, don't have to go through the process. Anyway, the problem was this guy was the slowest runner I have ever come across. Because I'm running after this guy even slower than he is. And he looked like, when you put something on slow play, so it's just like, I'm running slow, and then he falls down, and I'm like, get up! He goes, I can't, I've got a cramp. And the gang The gang gave me my P45. That was the last time I was in the gang. I love doing stand-up comedy. I haven't done a Zoom show for a long time. The last time I did a Zoom show was probably it's like during COVID. And I made the mistake. So I remember my grandma joined the Zoom call. Now, we love our families. We all do. Every single one of us, we love our families. But sometimes they can do things that can annoy you. Like, for example, my grandma joined the Zoom call, and every time I told a joke, my grandma would heckle me. She was basically, the heckle was difficult to take because every time I told a joke, my grandma would come and she'd be like, he's lying. Every time. Like, that's not true. That's not what happened. Stop lying to these. She goes, stop lying to these people. And then somebody goes, who's that? I said, that's my grandma. She goes, he's lying again. I'm like, grandma. Yeah. So yeah, I love doing this job. But true story, before I got into stand-up, I had many jobs. One of my jobs that was really tough, and I used to be a salesman. So I used to sell doors, door to door. Okay, I'll say that again. I used to knock on people's doors every day, trying to sell them a door. Do you know how hard that is? Like, I knock on people's door and I was like, do you want to buy a door? They're like, no, I do not want to buy a door because I've got a door. And then you have to just keep walking, knock on another door. I've knocked on so many doors. One time this little old lady came out. She was like, get a real job, son. that was my grandma. I try to be a good person as well. I try to be a good citizen. Sometimes it backfires. This happened recently. I was on a night bus in London, where I'm from. It was about 1 a.m, and I'm getting off, and this young girl, I think she's like a student, she also gets off, and I don't know, she might have been intoxicated. I don't know. She was like wobbling a bit, and she had a big puffer coat, and she had a hole in her coat, and then her purse dropped out of the hole, and she didn't realize she dropped her purse, so she kept walking. And I thought, oh my God. So I picked it up and I went to give it to her. I went, excuse me. I kid you not, she looked at me and then she ran off. She didn't take the wallet. She didn't take her purse. She didn't even care. She just ran away. Now, I don't know why I ran after her. And I know it doesn't look right, running after this young girl at that time. But I was innocent. I was like, I just got to give her the purse. So I'm running after her. She's screaming. Then I realized this is wrong. So I stopped and I just threw the purse at her. And I didn't mean to, but it hit her. It hit her head. And then she picked up and she goes, I'm so sorry. Then she goes, she goes, I'm so racist. Which was weird because she was also black. It was strange. But before I threw the purse, I took all the cash out. No, I didn't. I wouldn't do that. Excuse me. I've been traveling quite a bit, which is like part of the job, which I mean, it's great. I feel very, very lucky. I was in France. I did my first ever stand-up show in France, which was nice. In English, of course. I can't speak any French. But I did go around. I did do some sightseeing during the day. And one of the things I realized was France has a big hip-hop community. Like, I love hip-hop, halal hip-hop, of course. But I love hip-hop. So basically, I saw these two rappers. They were having a rap battle. They were going back and forth, right? And next to me was another French guy. He was also watching these two guys have a rap battle. And they're going back and forth, back and forth. One was looking at the other going, Now, I didn't know what he was saying. So I asked this French guy, I was like, excuse me, what did that rapper just say? And kid you know, this French guy looked at me and he went, well, as you can see, he's not happy. I was like, well, thank you for that. Honestly, Nabz, you're the only person I can see. I can't see anyone else, but it's okay. So thank you.
You're welcome. I get you, brother.
Right, I think I've got jokes for a couple of more. So I've been living in like Brixton like all my life, and it's changed a lot now. Brixton is very gentrified. It's very nice. Like, I remember when Brixton was Brixton. Like, I remember one time, I kid you not, I'm just like on the high road, and there's a guy across the road wearing one sock, right, just walking, and he stops. This is like in the summer of like 2000. He stops and he goes, "You!" I was across the road, right, and he goes, "You!" I said, yes, I kid you not. And I could never forget this. He goes, I'm going to rob you one of these days. Now, people are just meant to rob you. They're not meant to give you advance warning. Now, I didn't know what to say. What was I supposed to say? I'll be looking forward to it. So I just ignored him. I kid you not. About 3-4 weeks later, I'm outside a coffee shop just near where he said he's going to rob me. That same guy turns up, picks up my bag and runs off, right? But then he comes back because he realized there was nothing in my bag. And he confronts me. He goes, there's nothing in your bag. So I didn't know what to say. So I just said, I'm sorry. I didn't know today was the day. So then he goes to me, what's your name? And I told him. And I said, Prince Abdi. He goes, okay, I'll make a note. I've never seen him since. Never ever seen him since. But sorry, I'm looking that way because I got another event, by the way, guys, in December. So I'm just getting prepared for that. Oh no, another thing, the lights here are automatic. They're about to go off, so I have to do that as well. So I've been up north last few days. I like up north. I don't know what people are because I can't see anyone but Nabz. But I was in Leeds. I was in Yorkshire, and I have to say, people in Yorkshire are so relaxed. Like, and I think it's the accent. Like, there was a couple in Leeds just a few days ago, and they were having a conversation. I thought they were going to go to sleep. Honestly, the husband was looking at his wife. He's like, "Yeah, right, love." She's like, "I'm all right. What do you want to do tomorrow, love?" "I don't really know." It was like, "You want to go to Greg's?" "All right." It's just so relaxed. And people are, this little old lady, she came over to me, I kid you not, she was about maybe 80, 85. She came over, she went, "Excuse me, love, have you got the time?" And I said, "Yeah." She's just gone to, I kid you not, she goes, "Are you sure, love?" And I was like, "Yeah, what would you say that?" I kid you not, she goes, "Sorry, love, you just look like you don't know what you're doing." It was harsh, man. Yeah, that's me. That's my time. Thank you very much. You can ask me any questions. Thank you, Nabz. This is the only person I see, so thanks for the support.
That was lovely. Thank you.
From a comedian to comedian, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, I'm pleased to tell you that there are 25 participants.
Oh, thank God.
You've got a whole packed room here.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
I've been carrying the audience's laughter.
Thank you so much.
I'm representing 25 people. I'm sorry if I didn't laugh louder at some of the jokes.
No, it was, and even the tiniest of laughter is enough for me. I did a show in a village in Holland, and I was doing an hour and nobody laughed. And then later I realized none of them could speak English.
Well, look, Prince, you said to me you're not going to look at the comments, but I can share some love to you.
Okay, all right.
So Rosina Khan said she loved it. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Rosina.
Zulfikar Bhatti has given you a round of applause. So he absolutely enjoyed it. And Nabz Pat, absolutely found it hilarious. And so did Channel Nada. So he is hilarious, she says.
Oh, thank you.
Big up, says Shama the Charmer. We've got
Big
some
up.
cool names popping up here. And actually, whilst you're on the chat, just to let you know, I'm about to start the Q&A now. So if you've got some pressing questions for your favorite comedian, Prince Abdi, please hit us up with your questions and I will try and get those across to him.
Keep those clean and halal and kosher and
absolutely, absolutely. This is a Muslim festival. We're keeping things halal as much as possible. Now, you mentioned that this was the first time you're back on Zoom after a very long time. How did it feel to come back? Because I mean, I even dabbled in stand-up comedy on Zoom. I'd like to call it sit-down comedy. Although in your case, I think if you actually stood up, you would ensure that the light stayed on. So there were moments of stand-up comedy.
I have to do that to like keep it on.
So what does it feel like to come back on Zoom? Because obviously stand-up comedy is this very specific discipline, which is for a very intimate crowd in a small room, often is the case, on stage, and it's 1 to about 25 people, and it's all about that audience interaction. How does this feel in comparison?
I mean, the good thing about Zoom is usually you don't have to leave your house. So like you could just be at home, and then you could dress smart on the top, and then you could just wear like your shorts or
Oh, absolutely.
You could be comfortable, you could be in your loafers.
So I'm smart at the top, pajamas at the bottom.
Ah, look at that. See? Legend. Proper legend. But nobody knows. No one knows.
Well, I've just outed myself.
Well, you just told us now, but I wouldn't know. I thought, wow, you're very smart.
Thank you. It's amazing what a blazer can just do on a pajama.
Yeah, well, that's what I did when I used to do future. I used to wear a blazer. I did just wear my Arsenal shorts, or pick up Arsenal, my Arsenal shorts.
Sorry for any Arsenal fan, Arsenal non-fans out there. So, you know, I have to delve into your style of comedy. It's very unique. It's very conversational, relatable, full of anecdotes. A lot of weird stuff happens to you, Prince Abdi.
They do, yeah. It's really weird. I swear, I'm not even making this up. I was at train station, and this lady came over, and I think she was from Nigeria or something, and she had like a lot of luggage, and she just went, she goes, "Excuse me, can I just leave this with you? I'm going to go." She goes, "I'm going to do some shopping. Can I just leave my luggage with you?" I'm like, first, I don't know you, lady. I don't know what's in that luggage. So these things just happen, but I guess she felt comfortable with me, but I wasn't so comfortable because I didn't want to be responsible for her stuff. And because I said that I was going, and I was going, that's why she left. But then when she came back, she still saw me in the same spot. So it looked like I didn't want to help her, but yeah, it just happens to me. I don't know.
I guess you've got that very trusting vibe happening. And so therefore these things happen to you. But are they funny at the time? Can you
No,
no. So
no,
but
they're
you
not,
make them funny for us.
Yeah, because that was that like just what happened at the station was a bit of like, she was really annoyed with me, the fact that I said no. She was like, really, like I should have looked after her luggage while she went shopping. I'm like, who does that? Like, firstly, why did she trust me with her luggage? Like, that's what I was thinking the first thing, but I don't know. But yeah, sometimes in the situation, it's not that funny. Like it's a bit tense. But yeah, it does happen. Like the guy that robbed me as well, that was a bit like, whoa, you know. But
wow, these are real life events.
Yeah.
Scary at the time. But
scary at the time, but then you have to just turn it into like jokes, yeah.
You're just thinking, this is what's going to get me to live at the Apollo, aren't you?
Nah, I don't need that.
I've got
Macfest.
No, you got Macfest. Zoom, yeah, you get to sit down.
Exactly.
Amazing. So let's talk us through the process of producing comedy, because I mean, I guess for selfish reasons, I'm interested in this, but also like I just think this is such a real insight from comedians, because you know when they go on stage and we watch them and we love our comedians, we're just like enthralled by them being these kind of magicians who just pull out these jokes like rabbits out of hats, and it just seems so spontaneous. Is it ever spontaneous? What goes into producing? What goes into producing those jokes?
That's a good question. It can be. I mean, most of our stuff are all written, so it's stuff that you know, I've worked on. But sometimes the jokes do just come to my head, and I do say it on stage, and if it works, it works, and sometimes they don't work, and you just have to quickly go back to what you know. But yeah, lots of times they can be spontaneous, especially like, say if I'm hosting the show. So say if I'm comparing the show, and I'm like chatting to someone, and a joke can just come up, and you can just like, it just depends on the mood as well. Like it depends on how the audience are, because sometimes some audience can give you so much energy that you're like, oh, like you're in cloud land, and you could just like say anything, it'll be funny. And then sometimes you have audience I'll just stare at you and just like that village I had in Holland. Yeah, just
well, you have an audience of 26 people and you can only see me. I hope I'm giving you the energy.
You're giving me great energy, thank you.
Nabz, Nabz, they're more than 26 because their family's watching. They're using one Zoom, but remember, it's a whole family.
Wow. Okay. You have an auditorium.
Oh wow.
That's
And if it's I don't know if I can say this, but if it's like Asian family, then definitely I'm getting more than 25.
You
because
got multi
the uncle's there,
generations.
the auntie's there, the cousin is there, the cousins, brothers, everyone's there.
Forget live at the Apollo. This is live at the O2 level.
This is why, yeah, this is nice. when I do like Muslim events, like the whole family came, from like the baby to the granddad to the great granddad. It's beautiful.
So you mentioned the Muslim comedy circuit. I'm really interested. People, especially comedians who dabble across different types of circuits, from the Black comedy circuit to Muslim comedy circuit to mainstream comedy circuit, and then of course we've got to mention that you are quite the traveling comedian. You go all around the world. How do you find that your jokes translate across different communities and different time zones, for instance?
It's a good question again. I think if you have jokes that everyone can relate to, like say, I don't know, if I do a joke about my grandmother, everyone has a grandma or did have a grandma, or, so that people can relate to. So it's all about the jokes that everyone can relate to. No matter if you're Muslim, if you're, I don't know, Jewish, or if you're Christian, or if you're Black, white, Asian, we all have a grandma, for example. So, if you do jokes about that, or I don't know, if I talk about being on a plane, even if you've never been on a plane, you can still relate. Like, you can still know, oh, it's a plane. So I just try to pick jokes that everyone can relate to. So I call them universal jokes. So traveling, and when I travel as well, I try to do like the local stuff for them as well. Like when I went to like Leeds, I was doing a bit of their accent, and I went to Australia, I'll do like a bit of their accent and how they talk, and yeah.
You must never switch off. You must be like someone who's really seasoned when it comes to observing. You must have to brush up on your observation skills.
I have to, yes. Otherwise, I won't be able to pay the bills.
How do your friends and family cope when you're sat there having dinner and suddenly it's like you can see a punchline in baked beans or something?
Oh, they're just used to it now. Because what I do nowadays is I write it on my phone. So whenever on my phone, they know that I'm about to write a joke. So, and then I put it on my notepad. So if I don't have my notepad, I usually just quickly make a note on my phone. Now, so my phone, I'm always writing like jokes every day.
One family member that you did mention in your act was your grandma. Could she be possibly tuning in right now? Because if that's the case,
I banned her.
Oh, okay.
I had to ban her. That's the last Zoom gig I did, was with her saying that I was lying.
You could have safely given her the link today, because
it was my show.
She would have taken over the chat. She would have taken over the chat.
She's funnier than me. I don't want that. She's too funny.
Oh well. So I'm going to bring in a few other questions from some of the people that are tuning in right now. Channel Nada says, who's your favorite comedian?
It's quite a tough one. If I had to choose just one, it'd probably be Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle. Why?
I've worked with him a lot, and yeah, he's just, every time I see him, he's just got a brand new jokes every time. Like, I don't know how he does it. Every single time, like he'll do an hour today, and then tomorrow he'll do another. I was like, where do you get all this? He just works so hard. I don't know how he's just so prolific. That's why I like him, and he just has no fear. He just says things that most people are scared to say, or don't know how to articulate. He's very smart as well, very smart.
Some of the other questions that are cropping up, and I guess this is the nature of what happens when you're a comedian and you're on stage and you're sharing parts of your life. People then get fascinated by who you are, and so people are wondering, what is Abdi short for, if it's short for anything, and where does the title Prince come from?
I've been asked this before. Is my grandma logging in? Is this what it
is? she got the link.
Yeah, I think she has the link.
She got the link. You made her famous enough that we now probably communicated to her, like,
no, it's just so Prince is just so back in the days in like East Africa, and people are like, well, I'm talking like centuries. The people are like, we're called prince and princesses, so that's where it derived from. And Abdi It's not short for anything. Abdi just simply means it means the slave of God. That's what it means.
Okay.
God's slave or God's servant. No, not slave, God's servant. Yeah.
Rosina Khan is just reassuring everyone in case anyone
Hold on.
mistook her. Oh, it's gone dark. Go on, stand up. You stand up comic. Rosina Khan is just reassuring everyone in case anyone mistook her for your grandma. She's like, I am not his grandma. No, I don't think you did. I think you gave too many compliments, Rosina, for us to mistake you for his grandma. Now, you've got a lovely, very relaxing style of comedy where you make everyone feel comfortable. Is that something that's always come naturally to you? Or is that something that you actually have to work on? I mean, I guess this also harps onto the fact that, have you always been funny? Or is this something you have to work on? You know, you can be funny amongst friends and family, but being funny on stage is a very different thing. What elements are required to make you funny?
Absolutely, I 100% agree. Because I thought when I first started doing stand-up, I thought you could just go on stage and just make them laugh straight away. And it does not work like that. Because I was funny amongst my friends. So I'll tell my friends jokes and we all laugh because we're very comfortable with each other. But stand-up is a whole different ballgame, because when you go on that stage, you have to get everything right. So you have to get the timing right. You have to get a punchline at the right time. You have to so there's a lot of things to learn. And so I used to be one of the clowns in school. So I used to joke a lot. I used to put on accents. I used to do pranks. And then I remember I was young, I was watching Eddie Murphy, and I was like, this guy's hilarious. And then it took me a little while before I wanted to do the stand-up. I remember going on stage for the first time, and I was like a deer in the headlight, because I was just like, I told a joke and I didn't have a punchline. I just said something, and then they all just looked at me. And it was a black room as well. And the thing with the black rooms is, if they laugh, they would laugh. Like they like break chairs and tables and like, wah! That's great. But if they don't, they let you know.
Oh, and that must feel harsh if they let you know.
It was hard, because I remember inviting my friends, and all of them were there going, oh, this is awkward. And they were just like looking down. And that was like my first experience. But then I realized, like, even then, even though it was such an awkward gig, I still realized, like, this is what I wanted to do. I didn't want to sell doors anymore.
How do you, no, of course not. I mean, you have to kind of like put a real compelling argument against the current door. I can see how hard that is. But on the topic of good gigs, bad gigs, how do you handle your bad gigs? Because, I mean, the technical term often bandied about is you bombed on stage. And that's when nobody laughs. You can feel literally like the walls caving in as a comedian. I know that's how I feel when that's happened to me a few times. I won't mention how many times, but it's happened a few times. But it's a necessary process to get good. But how do you come out of it on the other side? How do you develop a thick skin?
Honestly, the best thing to do is to get on stage again straight away, as quick as you can. You have a bad gig tonight, get on stage tomorrow. That's the way I deal with it.
Can I just say, you're literally getting on stage in half an hour. I can assure you, you did not have a bad gig just now.
Thank you.
That was the motive.
But one thing, I mean, I don't know why we do this, but one thing is that we don't know our next gig. Like, we just don't know what's going to happen, which is why, in a way, it's exciting, but it could be a good gig or it could be a bad gig. So this is why sometimes I say to myself, why do I still do this? But this is part of it. This is what I love about it. Because no matter, I'm not always going to have amazing gigs. I know that's guaranteed. I'll have really good gigs, but I know every now and then I'll have a bad gig. Like, I'll bomb. I just know that. Okay. Because sometimes it's just out of your control. We could be, I don't know, it could be the mic, it could be the audience, it could be the way the stage is. Sometimes, I don't know if you ever done like gigs where like the ceiling is so high, like high up, and every time you say something, your voice just echoes up.
It just bounces
so the audience
off.
Can't, and they can't really hear you properly. Yeah, I've had gigs like that, and you just like,
so you just hear the audience's laughter. Does it just bounce off?
What when I'm doing the gigs with high
high
ceilings?
rise.
No,
Yeah.
I can't hear them. I can't hear them, and they can't really hear me because it's just like echoing. I did one in this town hall. I think it was like in, I think it was in Peterborough, and it was one of those. It was like a hall that was. It used to be an old church, but it was so high. Every time I told the joke, it's just like, and then it comes down. By the time it comes down, the laughter doesn't transcend the same way.
Well, it's a really good insight to get. But, obviously a bad gig is not an isolated event. You've got the whole day to actually build up on how you're feeling in the moment.
You usually learn, You usually learn from the bad gigs than the good gigs, because with the bad gigs, you always know what went wrong.
Gigs, having as many bad gigs is really good for a comedian, would you say?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely, because that builds you up. It's a bit like, I don't know if this is the case, but maybe like if you have a I don't know, a breakup, and then your heart heals, and then that's how you become. So if you have a bad gig, then you sort of get used to it. Like after a while, you go,
are you advocating that anyone who has a breakup needs to just get hooked up straight away? That's the only analogy I could see.
I didn't think about that properly. No, I'm not saying that. No, I meant like.
So just to be clear,
if you have a bad breakup, take your time until the next. But if you have a bad gig, get on stage straight away. That's what I wanted to say.
That's the difference. There you go. You got future material there.
Yeah. You got me there.
I got you there. I'm listening. What I wanted to ask you also then, in the lead up to a gig, whether it's good or bad, your day could be not necessarily the best day. So you're having to get through the day, then go to your evening gig, because often these things are in the evening. Yeah. How do you pull it out of the bag again?
Yeah, you have to.
It's a mental game.
Oh yeah, big time. That's such a good question, and nobody's asked me that before. You have to, when you walk into that comedy club or the theater or wherever it is, you have to just block. You have to leave everything that you've had behind you, and get into the mindset of, I'm gonna have to make, because these people don't know what's going on, like what you're going through, what's what sort of day you had. So you have to also put into your mindset that, okay, I'm gonna make them laugh, then I'll deal with my problem later. Like I remember one time, my granddad was really sick. I remember really sick, and I just came from the hospital. And I was doing a gig. And and it's like December, like when I do mainstream gigs, they can be, because we've got office parties and it can be quite rough. So I went on stage and I remember straight away I was getting heckled, and I was dealing with a heckler. Then I'm trying to do material, then another one, and then in the end I just thought, I'm going. If I just tell these people what's going on, they have no idea, but they wouldn't care. So you just have to get on with it, and then when you leave that room, then go back to being the normal human again, because we're sort of superhuman in a way, because we've got to channel our emotions. And
I can imagine it's a hard mental workout in many ways. And exactly. You can only, I guess, with more practice, you only get better and better. Now, before I move on to, I want to go from the process of comedy production to also talking more about the Muslim comedy scene, because we are a Muslim festival here. I just want to let everyone know that your questions are more than welcome. I know Qaisra, the founder of Macfest, will also be asking a couple of questions in a bit. But please, if you've got any pressing questions to your favorite comedian, Prince Abdi, please put them in the chat and I will read them out to your favorite, His Royal Highness, Prince Abdi. So Prince, tell me, when you're doing the Muslim comedy circuit, it's come a long way. It's still pretty new. I'd say probably about 10 to 15 years old. Of course, a lot of the charity event style comedy shows have really propelled the scene a lot. How would you compare the Muslim comedy scene to the mainstream one? And how far do you think it has to go? Or not necessarily have to go in the same direction. It's got its own kind of unique components.
Well, firstly, the big difference is when you're doing the Muslim gigs, the audience are all 100% halal sober, no one's drinking. So they listen to your jokes, every detail, everything. They're more observant. Like you better be like on top of your game. While sometimes when you're doing the mainstream circuit and they're all a bit drunk, sometimes they let you off. So if you maybe tell a joke or that, oh, it's not that funny, they sort of just laugh because the alcohol's making them laugh. But that's a big difference. Right? When I do the Muslim, I remember one time I was doing this Muslim event, and this uncle was just like listening to every single word I was saying. He was making £5 worth, man. He was like, I paid £5. I'm going to listen to everything. He made funny. But yeah, that's the difference. And also, I
didn't
think
ask for a refund, did he?
No, he didn't. I cracked. He smiled. So if you can make an uncle smile, you've done well.
That's it. You've done well. You've done well. Okay.
Yeah. And the mainstream circuit, they are serious about time. So if they say they start 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, they start bang on 7 o'clock. Like this show tonight, I'm starting at 7, but I don't think we'll start at 7. Just being honest. I think we'll start at 1:15.
So you've just given it away. It's a Muslim event.
No, yeah, it is actually. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I can't lie. Yeah, it's there.
Well, we actually did start on time here at Macfest.
You did. This is perfect. Yeah. I mean, I was meant to do a mainstream event tonight, but this is the thing. I'm doing an event for a friend of mine for his like charity, and because I've known him for so long, he kind of like guilt tripped me in a way. It's like, brother, we've got long back, brother. We have to come on, brother. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. So that's why I'm here.
Qaisra, if you're still around, I know you
Yes, I'm still around. I'm really enjoying this.
Oh, excellent. I know you wanted to ask Prince Abdi a couple of questions.
I did, and I want to ask you the same question. First, Prince Abdi. Abdi, what did your family think about you entering into the field of comedy? It is unique, it's different, it's challenging. So what was their response? And then the same question for Nabila. Of course, you are an amazing comedian yourself.
That's a very good question. So I had many jobs. My last job, actually, I was a teacher, and it was, it's quite a stable job, and I had guaranteed income. But I always wanted to do comedy. So when I got into comedy, I remember I did my first ever. My family are always supportive, but they always wanted, they didn't know anything about the comedy. Even I didn't know you could actually make a little bit of living from it, and I had no idea at the time. But I really just wanted to do it, and I wanted to see how far I could get with it. And I remember my family like being supportive, but at the same time saying, you can always, because I'm a qualified teacher, so they were like, you can always go back to the teaching. And but I remember doing my first ever TV show, which was, I think it was 2018. Or was it, no, 2000? Yeah, 2018. I was doing this TV show on Comedy Central, and my mom called me and she said, "Oh, there's a guy on TV that looks like you." And I was like, "No,
that was me." Is that what you said?
That's not you. He just looks a bit like you. and then my mom was cheeky. She goes, I don't think it's you because the guy's a bit more handsome than you. I was like, Mom, really? But yeah, no, his family have always been supportive, which is good, which helps a lot.
What about you, Nabila?
I'm in a similar boat to Prince Abdi in that I've had very supportive family members. Of course, like my own family have seen me since I was born, and I guess because being the youngest, it just seemed like the natural option for me to take up being the kind of professional clown, because that's all they saw me. Like I was the attention seeker at home. I think there's a lot to be said about which sibling you turn out to be. So if you're the last one, then you're the baby, you're the one who wants everyone's attention.
Oh.
And I think that's what contributed to inspire me to get on stage. And I've never had any criticism or any intrepidation from any family member. They're just like, well, you do what you've got to do. If you enjoy it, we're happy. You're enjoying life. And so I've felt very fulfilled with the support I've got. Of course, like, you know, when you do gigs, and I've done the Muslim comedy circuit, I've done the mainstream comedy circuit, and with the Muslim comedy circuit, it's interesting because I tend not to have, like, I mean, obviously I make comedy videos, and when I make comedy videos, everyone can see them. It's accessible to everyone online. But the stage, I mean, obviously I'm going up as myself. So I'm talking about more personal things. And I have to say, having certain family members in the audience is tough for me. I mean, they're fine. They're absolutely fine. I found myself having to go to therapy afterwards to kind of process having like family members in the crowd. I was like, and you know, like people want to give you unsolicited advice, and it's how to handle that. You know,
tough.
especially when members of the family who have never actually produced comedy in their life, and suddenly like everyone has an opinion on how to make something more funny. And you just don't know how to take that. So yeah, I had to process it through therapy.
Yeah. So can I just bring you in now, Nabila? For example, we hosted you the previous year, and you specialize particularly in videos and particular personas. So we'd love to see a little bit of you doing that. So tell us about the little act you're going to share.
Oh yeah, that's right. If Prince
to
Abdi
end our
hadn't,
session.
if Prince Abdi hadn't actually disappeared earlier on, you would have no. If he stayed out in space longer, aka technical difficulties, right? Then we would have played it earlier. I'm glad we're playing it now. Basically, I made a comedy video. I have several caricatures that I hold on to, and I bring them out depending on what sketch or parody I want to do. And this was linked in 2019 to Boris Johnson's letterbox comments. And of course, the Muslim community were absolutely horrified at the Islamophobic sentiments that came across from those comments. And there was a lot of hoo-ha online. And for me, it was very important to produce something that could look at it in this kind of comic relief way, so that we could all process it. I mean, as hurtful and damaging as his comments were, I could see the funny. And so I deployed one of my more conservative Muslim characters, Abdul, onto the online world with him. Okay, here we go. Take two.
You know what? Never expected this moment to be so awkward. But you got to admit, yeah? Red draws more attention and all. I even paid first class for this. But now I got performance anxiety. To think, yeah? The number of times I slotted my package into one of you without lowering my gaze in it is just too much to think about. Just wish our soon-to-be Prime Minister Boris Johnson revealed the resemblance sooner when quoting the Muslim vote to become London mayor, innit? It's all very well taking pictures with us in mosques. Think of how many of us would have switched to dawdle back then to avoid this fitna. And now I can't even look you through your letter slot. My letter is going to be a bit floppy, innit? But I hear ya, this happens to a lot of people. Ah, that makes sense, yeah? That's why Boris brought this up. Ah, good honest man is that, Boris, bringing up the letterbox matter in the national press in this way. He's only expressing his vulnerabilities, innit? It's refreshing, you know. Yeah, Boris for PM.
So there you go. There you
That's
go.
brilliant.
Prince Abdi. Yeah, it's similar to what happened to you. Had to take two with comedy. But no, glad it played and there was sound this time around. But of course, just to further add to the context, Boris Johnson, who had likened Muslim niqabi women to letterboxes, and that was my reaction to it. So yeah, so I find it, you know, people go online and have their Twitter warrior moments, and there's lots of debates going on. And I just thought, you know what, I'm in the business of creating parodies and satire, and this is my contribution to widening the conversation. And you know, some people can see what it's about and they enjoy it, and so I've managed to, over the years, through these videos, cultivate a kind of niche audience. So feel free, anyone if this video has piqued your interest, you are more than welcome to follow me on my Instagram, which is Nabz_Pat. And of course, it goes without saying, do follow Prince Abdi, although I think you are, because there's some real fans here who have joined your session. So Prince Abdi, why don't you give us your social media handles?
It's like the real Prince Abdi, and I say real because we're all called Abdi. The real one.
There you go.
That's excellent. So my last question then, Nabz and Prince Abdi, what are the projects you're working on now? Any new sketch, new direction, any new show that you'd like to mention or talk about?
I'm doing I'm working on this new international festival in Holland and Belgium, so I just need to write a show for that. Well, the show is almost done. I just need to go to comedy clubs starting tomorrow and just test out the material for these shows. So that's what I'm working on next.
Excellent. Well done, you.
So it's in yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck to that. Myself, I've spent the past 2 years concentrating on stand-up comedy. So I took a little break from the online world. And actually, Qaisra, you'll be pleased to know, because I know that you've been a fantastic champion of mine online. I'm actually reverting back to online comedy, and I'm about to go full scale on trying to produce
that's wonderful.
more regular content.
I love your videos.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You created a real niche for yourself. You know, it's unique and it's something we can all relate to. No, well done.
Yeah, like Prince Abdi said, you know, we've all got grandmas, we've all got an auntie, a busybody auntie, and I certainly produce a caricature of a busybody auntie, whom I seem to kind of process a lot of my, you know, traumas from my own community through that character. So this is actually a personal development for me more than anything else.
Excellent. So I think it's time to wrap up, and particularly for Prince Abdi, he's got an act to go to at 7 o'clock. So Abdi, you can open the door now.
and let the other comedians in.
Yes, he had to lock himself in just in case somebody interrupted. So listen, it's been absolutely marvelous. You've been absolutely terrific. I really enjoyed your act, Abdi. And Nabila, you are a marvelous host. I really loved the interaction between both of you. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, thank you to our wonderful audience who are there. And I'm telling you, their families there, not just one person. You've got one laptop, but there's at least 4 or 5 people watching.
That's
so in
amazing,
reality, you had about 50 people joining you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for logging in and watching.
So we will have some videos. We will have all of this on social media soon. So inshallah, we'll meet again. Okay. And everybody else, you know our program from Macfest, please join us. The next event is on Tuesday on multilingualism, and then we've got many more. Just look at our program on our website. So good evening, everyone, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bye-bye.
Salam, everybody.